Alright, we should be live. Welcome everybody. Just gonna double check this. And let's see. See if we are in fact showing us live. Alright. Welcome to my Sunday live stream. It is Sunday the 31st of July 2022, and we're going to be talking about more options for doing self-hosting. And so let me bring up my screen here. Alright, so the first one on our list is Coolify. And as you can see on the screen, it's an open source, self-hostable Heroku or Netlify alternative. Make that a little bit larger for anybody that might be on a mobile device. So they've got all kinds of things on here. This is one that you can install on Ubuntu or Debian and likely others. As I have Ubuntu already installed on this machine, we're going to use Ubuntu. Alright, so we are connected to this already, and it's just a one-line install, and we'll get this kicked off. And let it do its thing. And it's going to go ahead and install Docker and any other things that it needs to install along with it. Again, my standard disclaimer applies. If you are installing this for the first time, you may want to look at the install file, and like we demonstrated last week, you can redirect that to a shell script file and view that file before you run it, or before you subsequently run the one-liner using wget and followed by the bash piece of the one-liner. Alright, good morning Ken, welcome. So let's move back over here. Alright, they've done the Docker Compose plugin, and we're installing Coolify currently. So we will do a couple of things here. So we're going to be on port 3000, and we're going to do one other thing here. We're going to add our regular user to the Docker group. I don't need sudo for that. And then if we log out of that and log out of our normal user and then reconnect via SSH, I suppose I should take myself off screen if we're going to have commands there. Okay, so we should now be able to run Docker PS without sudo, and we can in fact do that. Alright, so we come here and we paste in the address, it did warn us and say that that might take a few minutes. So that is all good. We will give it a minute or two. So hopefully everybody's had a good week. It's been an interesting one for me. Took a day trip on Friday with my dad and my youngest niece. We went up to Traverse City, Michigan to check out a museum called the Music House, which is a museum of mechanized instruments. So from player pianos to theater organs to other instruments that were somewhat popular up through the first couple of decades of the 20th century, and they all kind of went by the wayside when the Depression hit, and a lot of them were lost in Europe during World War II, like so many other things. But there are some very interesting things at that museum, and if you ever get to Traverse City, Michigan, definitely check that out. The other place that we ended up, well, my father's first name is Don, so it was an obvious place to have lunch after visiting the museum, and that was Don's Drive-In. And if you're a fan of old-fashioned hand-dipped milkshakes, definitely check that out while you're in Traverse City as well. Probably the best chocolate milkshake of my life. The burger wasn't half bad either, and their deep fried mushrooms, I could eat a tray of those double the size of what we were served. They were excellent. So let's see if this wants to do anything for us. Back up here a little ways and see. .170. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the right IP address. Okay. So we are actually at 172.16.74.247 and port 3000. Okay, so we might get shot down completely on this one. Again, this is my first time looking at these other than reading about them in some articles and the random YouTube video that I found. So since I'm not a Docker expert, this one I'm going to leave, and we might circle back around to it. So the other one that I was going to do on a local machine, I somehow messed up the VM earlier, so we are going to reinstall the Ubuntu instance, and we'll take a look at the online hosted version of one of these. In the meantime, while this finishes its install process, and try to make the best use of our time. Alright, that one's going to take a few minutes to run. So in the meantime, we'll take a look at Picopods. Now, Picopods is a service. It's a paid service, but they make it very easy for you to deploy and use a bunch of different apps. Each of them has their own rate of charge each month, but you can be selective. It even gives you the options to have a quarter or half of a virtual CPU, and so from this from that aspect, it's very flexible. To give you a look at some of the available apps, they've got a bunch of different categories, but WeCan is a Kanban or Kanban board. We've got Mattermost for chat. All kinds of different things that you can run on here. Nextcloud, PhotoPrism if you want an alternative to Google Photos, Umami, which is an alternative to Google Analytics. You've got Uptime Kuma, which is one of my favored applications to run to track uptime on different servers, and WordPress, of course. So what was the one I was looking at earlier? Analytics. So a couple of these are of particular interest to me, probably three of these. Baserow and NoCodeDB are both no-code databases. Excuse me. They would be sort of an alternative, an open source alternative to a product like Airtable. And I played around a little bit with NoCodeDB once or twice before. I have not played with Baserow. You can see that there is a price difference. Matomo, of course, like Umami down here, they're both alternatives to Google Analytics that you could tie into the back end of a website to have analytics for your website, because there is, or there seems to be, an ongoing movement to de-Google yourself, and I know that's a little hard to believe, considering we're watching this on YouTube, or producing this on YouTube, which is owned by Google, but there's no hard, fast rule that says you have to run everything that Google offers and fully buy into all of their platforms, even if you do enjoy the YouTube. So let's first check on the install progress here, and that's still going. And I'm going to jump out of the room just for a minute to grab a glass of water, and I will be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Been having a few allergy issues for a few days now. So, hopefully with a glass of water, this will go a little easier. Let's see. I've been checking out a YouTube alternative called Odyssey. So Ken, I am actually on Odyssey as well. I've got things set up so that all my videos get synced over to Odyssey. And there is another front end to Odyssey. Odyssey's built on library, LBRY. Seems like there was some other alternative front end to Odyssey. But yes, my videos do sync across. Or at least they were syncing across. Yes. So whether all of my videos are here, I'm not entirely sure. I don't tend to check this a lot. It was coming over automatically, but I should probably give this another look. So anyways, yes, I'm on Odyssey, and yeah. So, this is still doing its thing. Let's jump back to Picopods. Okay, so Baserow is one that I know I want to play with. So you've got to give it a pod name. You've got to set the region. Obviously, we would be US. Now, one place where it doesn't offer so much flexibility for Picopods is the region selection. There's only one data center in each country, so that may be a deal breaker for anything other than testing some apps. Resources, you can change how much CPU or virtual CPU you're going to have, and storage. And for our purposes, I think I will just leave that at the half a CPU core for this purpose. Setting up your pod, they estimate less than or around 20 seconds. So we'll see what happens. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, pod was started. Initial startup can take several minutes. So we'll give that a few minutes, and we'll check on the progress of our Ubuntu server install. And that still has some updates it's doing in the background, so we'll let that go for the moment. So Coolify was sort of dead in the water. Picopods is getting ready, and the last one we'll take a look at once the server is done installing is called Umbrel, or Umbrel. And this one can be installed actually on a Raspberry Pi 4 or any other Ubuntu or Debian system for that matter. And of course they've got the whole de-Google yourself approach here while publishing a YouTube video. So you know, it's one of those things. You can set this up behind your firewall or router. You could either choose to open ports to let yourself in and do port forwarding, or preferably you would just set up a VPN and limit the access to that VPN so that it's only on when you need it, and very well locked down so that you've got long passwords, or preferably again SSH keys assigned so that you know there's nothing or I shouldn't say nothing, a much lower chance of having yourself open to hacking attempts. I've shown locking down OpenSSH server in other videos, but you know, you always want to kind of double check those configuration files and make sure that you are locking things down and restricting access to the best of your ability and to the degree that you wish to have things locked down. So let's see. All right. So, all right. Well, we've got this server that should be finishing here in the next few minutes. In the meantime, we've given this a few minutes. Let's go ahead and try to open the pod and see what we get. Okay. So this puts you on a subdomain. You could of course point a domain or a subdomain you own at this. So I'm going to create a new account, and I think I'm going to bump this over to the other screen at least partially for this. And we're going to create a password. Okay. So we are in Baserow. And so you can add members to your group. They've got customers and projects. So an administration panel or a bit of a panel. So that's all good. So under create new, we can either create a database from scratch, or we can use a template. And we'll just see what templates they have installed. And doesn't look like anything is populated there. Nothing comes up in search. So we'll just create a new database. You can actually import from Airtable. So if you've previously been using Airtable, you can pull data over from that. So we've got a database here, test 1. Can look at my company database. So first name, last name, and then notes is what we've got currently. You can add fields of multiple types, which is handy. I believe this sits on top of a PostgreSQL database. So you can easily import data from a CSV file. And there are all kinds of things you can do with this. You can think of it as, you know, the idea behind this is similar to what Access has been traditionally, only with a web interface instead of a Windows only fat interface, I guess you could say. So we come back to the dashboard. Use the sidebar to create one. Okay, so test 1 is our new database. And we might start with a table for inventory. I don't know. So again, you can start with a new table. You can import a CSV file or XML or JSON. You can paste in table data. We'll just create a new table. This is going to be for inventory. We can do different things with our fields here. We can delete the field if we wanted to. Do some of our own customizations. Name is going to stay. I do wish they would allow us to rename that. So we're going to say barcode. We're going to make that a single line text. Because this is where I will hook up the barcode scanner and scan those barcodes that I purchased. We might have a description field. We might make that long text. We might add a quantity and make that a number. 0 decimal places. And so, you know, again, then we can start adding data to this. So we might say Mac Mini 2020 Doesn't have a barcode yet. 16 gigs RAM, 10 gigabit Ethernet option. What is that? What do we got on this thing? Is that storage? Yeah, that's what I thought. 1 terabyte. Onboard storage, and we've got one of those. So then of course we can just add other things, and of course for the barcode, if you had the barcode scanner hooked up, you can scan that and have that in your Baserow database. So I'm looking forward to playing with this further. One of the interesting things about this is that Baserow is API driven, so you can have, or you could potentially have somebody that uses the graphical web interface on this, and then you could have somebody else that is accessing it with Python or JavaScript or what have you, and adding or manipulating data in that manner. So there are different options for color coding things. You can share views, you can sort and filter. You can export a view. And yeah, it's one of those things that could be very useful for somebody. And you know, the sky is really the limit on that. So that is again running on Picopods with half a CPU core, 1 gig of RAM, and 10 gigs of storage in the US data center. I will probably delete this one after the video, after the live stream, and recreate it so that the domain and any other information is not public, and you can't just try to access my Baserow Picapod. Okay, let's see. All right. Welcome, Akizimana Isa. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too badly. Good morning, Tony. Welcome. Let's see. Chris, is this an alternative to building a lamp stack? Yeah, so this is Picopods is another one of those Docker-based utilities, I guess, for lack of a better term. Similar to what we showed off last week with Casa OS. I thought while we were on the subject of things like that, I might as well continue that for another week. But I'm pretty sure there's some sort of a lamp stack running on the Docker container that this is using for the actual display here. So I'd have to dig a little bit to find out exactly what they're using. It could be a limp stack, it could be Nginx instead of Apache. I'm not entirely sure. So hope that sort of answers your question. Good to see you, Tony. Glad to have, wow, we're up to 10 people viewing. So, and Catherine, welcome. Okay, so we've taken a look at Picopods. We might install one more of those if we have some time to kill while we're moving on to Umbrel. I need to see how my server is doing. And it is actually ready to be rebooted. So we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll kick off some updates, and then we'll see about installing that. We'll come down here, and we will eject the virtual optical drive, or disk rather. And let's see what we can do with this one. So, alright, good morning. Good morning everybody. Seems like I'm getting names that I'm either going to butcher if I try to pronounce them, so I'll just do a blanket hello everybody. And hopefully that will suffice. Okay. Let me jump back to my notes for just a second. If everything goes well, hopefully this will be on. Nope, not that one. Or maybe not. So let's see what IP address this did end up on. This is on 229. Alright, that helps. Of course. All right, try that again. Alright, we'll kick off the updates and then we'll install another Picapod while we're waiting. So we're going to do apt update, upgrade-y, we're going to do sudo apt install guest agent and neo fetch and reboot. Alright, so that kicks that part off. We'll come back over to Picopods and we'll add another pod. So we're going to choose app. And what do we want this time? There's so many things on here. Can run your own Rocket Chat instance. Uptime Kuma. What? Paperless is a document management system. I've wanted to play with that for a while, so that might be one way to go. Matomo. Okay, so it's going to be running the US region. That's half a CPU. We're going to bump that up in memory. 10 gigs is good to start with, and we'll say add pod. I should point out, just for the sake of argument, I am in no way sponsored by Picopods. However, I would certainly talk with them if they would be interested in sponsoring future videos. They do give you a $5 credit when you sign up, so you don't even have to put in a credit card or PayPal information in order to get this moving. But that is, of course, up to you. So we're going to say open pod, and it's going to walk us through claims as an installation. Matomo is Libre software used to analyze traffic from your visitors. The process has 8 steps. It takes around 5 minutes. I'll say next. You can do its system check. This is using MySQL, and gives you some other information here. 256 meg memory limit. Gives you some other information and settings. Other required extensions. Of course, these are going to be all installed because that's taken care of for you. Directories with write access. Optional. So this is just sort of a status screen telling you what settings are in place. We can say next. Gives you the login and the password, which they have pre-populated for you. Say next, and we can save that, which is kind of handy. It doesn't. We don't even have to display it, so you know my login name, but not the password. Creating tables, successful. So I'm not going to show actually attaching this to the back end of my website in this video, but I do want to at least get through this install. I'm going to drag this to the other screen momentarily. And we're going to create a new password. And sure. Okay. So, okay. So it actually walks you through setting up the website. So let's see. Detroit. See if that will actually do that or not. Okay, email these instructions. No, not through Apple Mail. So it gives you by default the JavaScript tracking code so that you can track on the website. See our list of plugins used to integrate Matomo. So I know there exists one for WordPress. And you've got a lot of other options here too. Photodeck, Drupal, Joomla, Dotto CMS, Typo3, Microsoft SharePoint, .NET Nuke. Some of these I've not heard of before. Moodle, if you have a learning management system, MediaWiki, Plone, Blue River, I've not heard of some of these. Backdrop, Grafana. Alright, and then of course e-commerce, you've got settings for WooCommerce, Magneto, HikaShop, OpenCart, PrestaShop. I'm a little surprised that Square is not listed on here, but CRM, photo galleries, forums, and webmail. So a good number of options there as well. And then programming language, platforms, and frameworks. Again, a good number of options here to integrate with. So that is kind of impressive to me, actually. So I'm just curious to see is oh yeah, minor detail there. So yeah, as you can see, Picopods is, easy to use. So even if you're not a command line junkie like myself and some of the others on the live chat, it's an approachable service. It's reasonably priced, especially with the $5 credit that they start you off with. It's enough to run a couple of pods for a month and just test out and see how you like it. You know, it's maybe not quite as economical as using an Amazon EC2 instance or something like Vulture or DigitalOcean or Linode or something like that. However, there isn't quite the learning curve involved in this that there are with some of the others. I view this as something that is a good middle ground between, you know, people using public cloud services and using the, services that you fully manage yourself, like an EC2 instance. This makes a good middle ground, and if somebody is just dipping their toe in running their own cloud services, then this may be a good way to go. It appears that they handle a lot of the updating in the background for you, so that becomes less of an issue as long as you trust them. Now, again, that's an entirely different subject. So, all right. Let's see. So, got a little chat going. David does not have a live stream tonight. Hopefully next week he'll be back. I see what it does. A hosting solution allows others to spin up web apps easily without installing and configuring them from scratch. Yes. I could not have put that better myself, Chris. So, thank you for your words there. Yeah. So, like I said, I view this as sort of a middle ground between, using a public cloud, using a EC2 or similar instance like a VPS, and yes, you're putting your trust in a cloud service, but since you're actually paying something for it, you're not quite as prone, theoretically, you're not quite as prone to having your data harvested like some of the popular services, while being able to maintain the flexibility and control that you want. Now, you can look at logs on these, which is kind of nice. You can again review your pod settings, change your resources while it's running. You can enable a custom domain. So again, there's another option you've got. It supports SFTP. So going back to a previous week, you could, since it supports SFTP, you could access this with rclone. They do backup for you, but they charge to get access to the backups. So again, this is where SFTP could come into play with rclone or Clonezilla, or not Clonezilla, FileZilla. And you can do your own backups and pull that data down to a local NAS or other storage. Joe, welcome. Good to see you here, my friend. All right. So, yeah, Picopods is rather interesting. I'm going to be playing more with Matomo and see what I can't get going, and maybe I'll leave this pod up for the week and show it off next week, what data has been collected from my website, or for my website. Continue to Matomo. So again, if we threw more resources at this, it may be a little bit faster. theoretically, according to what the ISP says, I'm supposed to have 500 megabit download and 50 uploads, so this should be relatively quick. Only one last step to track your traffic with Matomo and gain valuable insights. Choose your preferred way of getting set up. So, other ways. So, yeah. I've got to finish the setup, and that's going to involve logging into my website, which I'm not going to do live. But I will do that this afternoon and have something to show for this next week. I am going to use this WordPress option, and we will see how well this integrates and what data we have available next week. So, is my audio not good today? Am I low, or is something else happening with it? Okay, audio sounds great. Okay. Alright, so let's check and see where our other server is at in the process. And I figured it would be somewhere like that, waiting for input. And it should be restarting right now. And once this gets booted back up, we can take a look at our final option, which is going to be Umbrel or Umbrel. Sounds like it's the wrong mic selected. Okay, let me check that. Audio. You're right. Does this sound better? I tore down my desk earlier this week. I set everything back up, moved some stuff around, got the finally got the CalDigit Thunderbolt dock into place, and I splurged and got myself two 24-inch (1080p) 75 hertz monitors to replace the probably 10-year-old monitors I was using. Those were only 22-inch, which was like 21.5 viewable. So I'm not in a hurry to jump to 4K at the moment. Pricing on cameras right now is still a little wonky. Now that I've got the monitors, I think honestly my next purchase, is this any better? My next purchase should be, or likely will be, a Synology 1522 plus NAS. the two Synology boxes I've got are either end of life or very close to being end of life, and I want to get something newer that is going to be supported for a while. But I'm thoroughly enjoying the two new monitors. They've got a thinner bezel on three sides. They've got the blue light filter, which is one of the big things I was looking for. And they still fit on my desk. I had considered going up to 227s, but I wouldn't be able to fit everything on my desk if I had done that. Umbrel. Again, this is just going to be a simple bash using curl. It's going to pipe it to bash. Again, my disclaimer applies. If you're doing this for the first time, you may want to, instead of piping it to bash, send it to an actual file. Since this is a VM, I'm just going to run it, because I can always delete this VM after the install has concluded. So, I wasn't familiar with Umbrel. Spinning up a virtual machine right now to try it out. Very nice, Ken. Glad to hear that. Let's see, Catherine, the X299 system is in the other room. It is powered off right at the moment. I need to just move some things around and get it into a more permanent location. Unfortunately, with the little one-day family vacation I went on Friday, and a little bit of a recovery day yesterday, I don't have that up and running at the moment, but it's looking real nice, and I'm pretty impressed with the performance for what money I've got invested into it at this point. All right, so that is doing its install. So while we're waiting, I can jump over here, and I am at 3,695 subscribers as of this morning. I've actually jumped a couple just today. So things are progressing. Slowed down a little bit, but that's partially due to me having some other projects I've been working on during the month of July, and trying to get myself set up in the office again. Things moved around, and hopefully ready to go for the fall. I do still want to find myself a stand, one of the elevated stands for my ATEM Mini Pro, which I think adding that will be nice, because then I can have it just in front of my, or I guess behind my keyboard, and very easy to reach. So that will be a nice addition, and hopefully we will get some recorded videos moving again. I'm hoping to have one out this week, but I've said that the last couple of weeks, and it just didn't happen in July, and I'm sorry about that, but sometimes life just gets in the way. And this month was one of those times that's happened. Hopefully moving into the last of summer and into the fall, where I'm going to see some push on my part to get some more videos out, and I might just be hitting 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year. After all, I'm almost at 3,700 now. I think I can manage that with a little work and a little luck, and repeating what I did with last week's video with Casa OS. I don't think that will be terribly difficult to do, and not a huge stretch. All right, so let's check this out. It's still installing pieces and parts and doodads to make everything work. So yeah, I was hoping to have the footage off from my camcorder brought over to the Mini and uploaded to StreamYard, so I could play a few seconds of that during the stream today, but that didn't materialize for me. But that's all right. I know what you mean by life getting in the way. I've obviously decided to prioritize my video output rather than live streaming. Yeah, and I've gone the other way. I've kept the for the most part, I have kept the live streams going consistently and not done the recorded videos for the last month. I'm hoping to get back to a little bit more of a balance between the two going forward, and that should help bump views and different things. So all right. Now we're downloading some more Docker stuff. Looks like this is at least in part using Tor. So that should be interesting. Generating a Tor password. Alright, so far so good. We'll see how long this continues on. My plan right now is to retire from my day job by the end of next year. Well, that's exciting news. And then you'll be Mr. Full-time YouTuber or 3/4 time YouTuber, and spend more time doing grandparent duty, maybe? Alright, so we're still downloading stuff, and at least I've got a faster internet connection now, and this isn't quite as painful to watch in a live stream. But hopefully it'll complete relatively soon. That's the one I meant to put up. Full-time YouTube and part-time hobby teaching. All right. That sounds like it could be fun as well. I know we've talked privately about your hobby. Let's see. Congrats. I'm once retired and now full-time in a completely different field. Retired law enforcement, now full-time IT. Well, congratulations on that, Ken. That's impressive. Have a lot of respect for a lot of people in law enforcement. I think a few bad apples give a lot of others a bad name and bad image. But across the board, a lot of respect for law enforcement. Okay. So we now have Umbrel here at our local address. We'll copy that and head over to, go back to my other window. Over here. Welcome to Umbrel. Your personal server is now ready to set up. Alright, I'm going to take part of the screen over here and generate a password. Copy the password. Alright, so we are set up. Nice confetti there. And you can do a Bitcoin node. So it does have some blockchain stuff available. One thing that we installed on COS last week was Photo Prism. And this makes it pretty simple to install. So that's installing. We've got Home, App Store, Settings, Light Mode, and Log Out on the bottom and the little dock. Again, this is very simple to use once you get that first one line of code pasted into the terminal. One thing we're going to do here, again, this is Docker based, so we're going to add our normal user to the group Docker. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I put it in the wrong place. User mod, add to group Docker, and the user is this. Hopefully that does that here. This is still installing. And for the networker, Pi-hole, Tailscale, which I think we've talked about before, Uptime Kuma, which we mentioned earlier. And then again, you've got all kinds of things in the App Store that you could install. Home automation, networking, virtualization, Vault Warden, which is the unofficial Bitwarden compatible server for a password manager. wallet servers. So yeah, that's pretty cool what they've got available there. Bitfeed, a beautiful mempool virtualizer, and block explorer. So yeah, I can think of a few places where this might be interesting. Become an oracle and create Bitcoin bets. I'm not really invested in Bitcoin myself at this point in time, but it is an interesting concept. Crowd host podcasts over IPFS. Another interesting idea. Can run VS Code and a Git service on your Umbrel. So that's pretty neat there. PhotoPrism is still installing. So we'll wait that out at the moment, and see what happens here. Let's see. Yeah, I have no doubt about that. I'm burned out in IT security and renewing only some of my certs. I've done part-time IT for many years as a side job, and now I do it full-time for local community college. Absolutely loving it so far. Yeah, that has got to be a great gig. And you know, I think with the current happenings around the country and different schools, and that's all I'll say about that. I think it's an asset to have a former law enforcement person on staff, regardless of which department you are at the community college. I think that's a great asset there. Yeah, ridiculous crime wave New York is going through. I don't doubt that. With all the uncertainty that's happening everywhere in the country right now. Don't have any certs currently. Used to be GIAC certified forensic analyst. Did digital forensic investigations. Nice. Traditional IT is much better than IT security. Nobody wants to hear from us or spend the money. Yeah. That's part of the reason that even though I've got that master's in information security and automation, I don't do much with or information assurance and security. I don't do much with the security side of it professionally at this point in time. It just seems like an uphill battle, and even in a job like I've got at the library where I'm in more of a traditional IT system and network administration role, I try to push a few things for security, and there's a lot of pushback at me. So, um, yeah, it's kind of a balancing act. So, don't doubt that a bit. I'm really interested in security, though, just the same. All right. So let's see. I don't know if you directed that at me, Joe, or not, but the rest of today, I want to get the last few things of the office moved around so I can bring the new i9 system in to the office and get that hooked into the network in a more permanent spot, and have that ready for some videos and things that I want to make over the next few days. So, alright, so Photo Prism is in fact installed. We can open that up, and it's going to ask for a password. It's going to give it a password to be... that's not it. Okay, so there was okay, Umbrel, App Store, Photo Prism. These are the this is the default password. So we'll try that here and sign in, and it should let us sign in. I will be changing this password. Not that anybody could reach it anyways, because I haven't opened any ports to get to it. So, alright. So we have the ability to upload things. So I'm going to create an album for screenshots, and then we'll come to the desktop and we'll grab a few screenshots, and that's enough. We'll upload those, and then see what we can do with them. Does not help that our IT department also does security, and they have a lot of unqualified personnel doing things and crashing live systems. Oh, that's ouch. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I don't watch as much live TV anymore. We've got... Can I use Umbrel with only a PC, or do I need a server? You don't need a separate server. You could do a virtual machine in VirtualBox even and set up Umbrel. You know, I would just install an Ubuntu server instance, or you could download... They've got some pre-made images that you could download and install in VirtualBox without a big deep dive in that. How do you apply a cert to Umbrel, or does it also support one of the free cert services? My understanding, since it's running on Ubuntu server, is that you can just open... temporarily open ports and use Let's Encrypt, and that will get you a server. So I'm setting up an Umbrel VM in Proxmox right now. Very nice, Ken. Yeah, I'm honestly not sure, and I think I'd have to leave the VMs running for a few weeks to make a determination of whether I like Umbrel better or Casa OS. I know some people have complained about Umbrel and all of the blockchainy, Bitcoiny stuff that they've got available, and the use of Tor for different things. But I thought, this is interesting in at least looking at, and everybody can make their own call on that going forward. But that brings us, we're almost at 12:30, so I think I've covered most of what I set out to cover today. I'm going to look into Coolify and the documentation, and maybe I'll figure out what I missed in the install process that I did today, and take another look at it next week. But Coolify would be something similar again to Umbrel and Casa OS, and definitely worth the look. So I keep hearing and reading about edge computing. Edge computing is the way forward, and I think it will be interesting how some of these more polished Docker-based systems transform over the next few years, and see if it's something that at some point it'll be something that I'll just build a server off a used machine and have it at my sister's house or my father's house, and then they have something that they can sync to that's not quote unquote public cloud. It's something that they have some control over, even if I end up having to do the management duties on that just to keep it going. Keeping the control on your data is a good thing, and with these options that are available, and the fact that you can use FileZilla or rclone or any of a number of other things to do your backups and do them on a schedule, there's some real flexibility here. So, but it is 12:30, and I try to keep this to 90 minutes. Are there any final questions or comments before I wrap up for the day? Just want to see. We do have our album of screenshots here, and there's the screenshot I took for the thumbnail for today. And there's the Casa OS screenshot I took for last week's thumbnail. There's all kinds of different things I've got here. That was a jump on my YouTube stats that I thought was pretty impressive and took a screenshot of. But yeah, I mean, you've got options. They do allow you to do edits. You can edit the metadata. You can add labels. You can add people or tag people. And then again, there are different things you can set over here. Making a picture private is one of those. So, it is something that you have some control over. And then you can always download it again. But cool stuff. A lot of things happening, and yeah, this edge computing idea, with the availability of off lease systems from the local university. I've got some ideas that I kind of want to pursue. So more on that later. Yep, thanks for stopping in, Chris and Joe and Ken and everybody else, Catherine and David. I'm very thankful for all of your support and appreciate all of you very much. And on that note, I will go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks for stopping in. Please take a moment to like if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great day, everybody.